Welcome to this fourth Sunday in the season of Advent, and thank you for joining me to pause for peace. If you're watching this podcast, you can see me lighting the fourth candle of the Advent Wreath. We are so close to the celebration of Christmas. Here it is, December 22nd, and if you are anywhere near Hillwood Presbyterian Church property in the west side of Nashville, join us for Christmas Eve at 3 o'clock on December 24th. We'd love to have you. We will be sharing the light of candles in that service, having the celebration of the Lord's Supper, hearing and singing the story of Christmas. Well, today on this fourth Sunday, 2024, fourth Sunday of Advent, I would like us to think a little bit about the story of the one known as Mary, the mother. She didn't start as Mary, the mother. I've had an opportunity to be in the Holy Land and to go to Nazareth, where it is believed Mary, the mother, lived when she was a young girl. And there's a place there where there's a well. And the story that they tell there is that young Mary was drawing water from the well for her family. And while she was doing so, she heard this message. And in the canonical Gospels, in the Gospel of Luke, it's the story of an angel, the angel Gabriel, appearing to her. And perhaps that was something she saw, or perhaps that was something she heard within. But there was a message that she was receiving, and the story they tell there in Nazareth is when she was there drawing water at the well, and that when the angel or this message came to her, she was so afraid, she dropped her water jug and tailed it out of there, ran all the way home. She was terrified, the story is there in Nazareth. And the story they tell there in Nazareth is that the angel came again, that the angel was persistent. The message was for her. There was something special. She was to hear a word from God that was a call upon her life, really, something that she was to do for God. And of course, in the Gospel of Luke, we hear that story where Mary is minding her own business and the angel Gabriel comes a knocking, probably on her heart, knocking inwardly, and inviting her to open her life to this plan of her becoming a mother, so that she would bear a child in this world and would be told to name him Jesus. Yeshua would be the name in Hebrew, the one that saves. And the amazing thing is, according to the legends and the stories, is that Mary was very young, actually. And she was already engaged in her culture. Young girls would be betrothed or engaged, if you will, kind of given to a man so that they would be able to marry that man and then be able to bear the children of that man and that man's line and carry on the paternal name and therefore be able to carry on the paternal property lines. Well, Mary, according to this mystery that is celebrated at Christmas, young Mary is actually called upon to bear this child, and according to the Gospel of Luke, this is the child that is mysteriously conceived within. Now, all conception really is a little bit mysterious. We know how it happens. However, there is a way in which we can't always anticipate how conception will come about. And Mary is told that the Holy Spirit will be with her and upon her and will fill her with this child. Whatever we believe about this miraculous birth, I want us to think a little bit about the ways that God might be trying to knock upon our hearts this Christmas and get our attention for a new life we might be needing to birth into this world. And I'm not necessarily talking about the literal new life we might be being asked to bring into this world. I'm talking about the ways that we may be receiving a call in order to do something that is life-giving for our own environment, our own family, our own neighborhood, our own community, something that is life-giving for all the world. So I'm going to invite us to get quiet within and to listen. And if you are somebody who is terrified of hearing a word from God, or maybe has been kind of pushing off something that you know, a little way that God has been getting your attention, I'm going to ask you to be brave in this time today. So let's get ourselves quiet, turn our attention inward through the space of our heart, this spiritual eye of perception right in the middle of our chest. Taking a deep breath in, releasing. Another deep breath in and releasing. I'm inviting us into a space of openness. So if there are things crowding your heart right now, clouding your insides, let's set the intention for those to part so that you might have just a little bit of openness within. And everything else that has been crowding inside can come back after these moments of pausing for peace. But for right now, just a little bit of opening, that we might be able to hear inwardly a message from God. And we listen inwardly for this message to come to us. It certainly helps when we believe that the Spirit of God is living in us. The Spirit of God can speak to us in the quiet spaces of our heart. Making that our intention right now, I invite us into the quiet. You might even visualize yourself, like your heart opening a little bit, and yourself like reaching out a hand in the darkness, and a hand grasping yours, so that you and the Spirit of God that is within you have this chance to meet for a few moments, to be fully aware for a few moments of this connection inwardly, so that this beautiful, beloved friend that lives within at all times can speak to you right now. And the question we want to ask that beloved divine Spirit that lives within, if we're brave right now, the question I invite us to ask is, here am I. What would you like to do with me today? You might phrase it as, God, how can I live in a way that is life-giving today? In the quiet, we listen. We might see this message from the divine living within. We might sense or actually feel a particular message of how we can be more life-giving, what we might do to bear life in the world. I'm going to invite us to take another deep breath, trusting we have received some word from God. And if it's quiet, then perhaps that's the word from God. If it's been nothingness, perhaps that's the actual word from God, that the way you could be most life-giving would actually to be quiet for a little while, or to do nothing for a little bit, to actually restore yourself and be able to be refilled, if even for like 10 minutes each day. So the invitation now is to actually visualize ourselves embodying whatever it is we have heard in the quiet, whatever call God has for us in this quiet. Visualize ourselves being about that life-giving act or that life-giving way of being in the world, in our families, in our local communities, in your situation at work. Maybe it's within your extended family. However you can be a bit more life-giving according to what you have heard in the quiet. So I invite us to visualize ourselves actually embodying that. If the call has been to stillness, then see yourself sitting still, perhaps in a favorite chair, or maybe outside by some water, just 10 minutes, taking a break. If you have heard a way that you could be kinder to your neighbor, then visualize yourself actually being about a particular act of kindness that would allow that way of bearing life to actually come to fruition in the world. I invite you to take another deep breath. Hold it for just a moment before you release. And make a commitment inwardly. According to the Gospel of Luke, young Mary eventually said, "Here I am, servant of the Lord. Do with me according to your will." And so making that commitment, saying yes inwardly, yes, yes, Lord, yes, God, yes, divine, great spirit living within, I commit to being about this life-giving way in the world, even if it's just for one day this week. And before we depart the silence, we give inward gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this invitation. And when we're ready, we can bring our awareness back to the present moment. We can open our eyes, maybe move our bodies a little bit after the stillness. Fourth Sunday of Advent. Mary is known as the Theotokos, the mother, the life bearer of God. And that is our invitation. Though this fourth week of Advent might be short because Christmas Eve is coming soon, and we then enter the season of Christmas and the great celebration when we light the white center candle of our Advent wreath and share the glory of the good news of Jesus' birth. But still, this fourth week of Advent is our commitment to modeling our own lives after the life of the great Theotokos, after the great Mother of God, the life bearer of God, that simple girl Mary, who many still call upon for assistance, for guidance, for nurture, for comfort, for strength, for great wisdom. Invite her presence into your world this week and see how things go as you live out your commitment to being somebody who bears life in this world, in the varied ways that we do that, in the ways that we have heard God calling us in the quiet to do so in our lives this week. Blessings for this fourth week of Advent, and I pray you keep yourself calm and continuing to pause for peace, even amid these last-minute Christmas preparations. See you soon.